G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/LegalAdvice. Now, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and join my amazing community. You should also head on over to my subreddit r/Markee and post your own stories if you'd like to share and have them on this channel. With that out of the way, I'd love for you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some good content. Our first story of the day by Segments of Reality. My neighbors received a typed letter and a handwritten envelope through the post. The letter claimed that my wife and I are growing drugs, long-time drug users, and host bisexual swinger parties. My employer lives on my street and surely received this letter. My wife is a real estate agent. This happened in Orlando, Florida, because of course it did. Fortunately, one of my neighbors shared the typed letter and handwritten envelope with me. Other neighbors called my wife to tell her. The envelope was written in a way clearly trying to obfuscate their handwriting, but a trained eye, I work in corporate fraud, can find plenty of patterns of their actual handwriting. I plan to file a police report today after work. What else should I do? My wife is a real estate agent and the head of my company's local office is one of my neighbors. This is all lies, but it could hurt both of our careers, and we have a teenage daughter. She saw the letter. Update. Wow, front page. I just want to thank everyone who's been extremely positive and encouraging and providing great advice in the comments and direct messages. I have some good avenues to explore, but likely I think the culprit might be an ex-employee of mine or a neighbor with mental illness. With that said, the neighborhood has been rallying behind us. My wife and I have received multiple phone calls from neighbors expressing support. We've collected everyone's letters and envelope on our street, except for one because they're on vacation, for when we file our police report. I have a copy of the letter that I wish to share, but this sub does not allow images. But I did try and Google the wording, and it seems unique for those of you that are asking if it's a template. I will definitely be careful and cautious in the future, and keep my home security cameras on just in case. And our next post is by user Pulmanic, titled, "Co-worker is bragging about filing a false bite report to attempt to have their ex's dog euthanized. Can I help prevent this? Location, MA, which is Massachusetts, right? Sorry if this is a dumb question. I understand completely if the answer here is don't get involved. Still, I had a beloved cat get killed by a psycho when I was a kid, so I hate the idea of someone else going through a similar loss. I have a co-worker who is a bit of a character, to put it nicely. Recently, they've been bragging about how they're going to get revenge on their ex by filing a false bite report. They claim that the dog will be euthanized as the ex supposedly hasn't paid for a dog license. Edit, the dog is licensed. Co-worker is not a reliable narrator. Obviously, that's crap. But is there any way this anonymous report will result in the dog being put down? The co-worker says they're willing to do it as often as it takes, and also planned on filing false dog at large reports. They think this is very clever and has bragged about it multiple times. This is despite them knowing that I'm a huge animal lover. Best part is the co-worker broke up with their ex because the co-worker was cheating, and the ex wouldn't forgive it. The boss does know about it as the co-worker bragged to him about it. This co-worker is still on a probationary period, and I don't think he's going to keep them after it ends. I figure calling animal control could be a good first step, but I wonder if it'd be mistaken for a friend of the ex's. I just don't want to sit back and do nothing if there's a chance an innocent dog is going to be killed due to this piece of work. I've never gotten involved in a situation like this before, and I'm not overly comfortable doing so, but want to help if I can. Thanks. Edit. Thank you all for your good advice. I called the non-emergency police phone line and they took a report. They were very helpful and said that having such a report on file would raise the standard of proof required for such a bite report to be taken seriously. I also called animal control and they more or less told me the same thing, that they will absolutely take the police report into account and that they will demand more proof than usual from the co-workers should they report a bite. X hasn't replied to my message yet, but still early, and hopefully calling the police and animal control will take care of it. Edit 2. X got back to me. Was not overly surprised that the co-worker would do this, but was still pretty shaken. they're going to make sure to not let the dog out of sight, and will be getting a copy of the police report as well as vet records to show animal control if they come knocking. They are also considering a restraining order. Update. Co-worker is bragging about filing a false bite report to attempt to have their ex's dog euthanized. Can I help prevent this? Glad to say I've got a happy update. The co-worker was indeed terminated the day her probationary period ended, the 7th of the 1st, or the 1st of the 7th, I don't know. I wasn't working that day, but apparently she just stormed out wordlessly when told. The ex has filed for a temporary restraining order and is working on a permanent one. He's also installed home security cameras and carries a copy of the police report and a one-page vet record showing the dog is spayed and vaccinated. The dog has also been to obedience school, and they wrote a letter saying that she hasn't shown any human or dog aggression. Police and animal control are very good around here. They assured us both that euthanasia is an absolute last resort in any case, and that they'd require extra proof from this co-worker should she report anything. Additionally, with the restraining order, the co-worker can't be bitten by the dog without violating it. And the department says that they don't allow totally anonymous reporting. You can keep your name secret from the dog's owner, but not the police/animal control. So the dog is safe, co-worker let go, and ex is forewarned and forearmed. I'd still call it a win. Thank you for all your advice and support. My school is demanding for a copy of every student's car key in GA. I found this out about 2 hours ago. My high school posted the rulebook along with normal info for the school year. In the rulebook section about driving to school, it states in bold letter, all students who drive to school using a personal vehicle must give the school a copy of the key or key FOB. After I read this, I thought it was a misprint or a mistake. So I called the principal and school board. They both said that this was real, and if you park on school property, you must follow that rule. About 30 minutes later, I checked the school website, and others were complaining on the forums about it. They went on to post their reason. They want to be able to do random searches or drug sweeps. I personally find this to be an invasion of privacy. What can I do to stop this? Edit. Campus is the only place around to park at without paying $100 for a parking pass. Update. The school removed the policy after a car was broken into using the keys from the office. Thank you for all the help. And now to 2 comments. I can see potential liability for the school and board if someone's car was burglarized after this policy is implemented. Yeah, a bit late for that one, isn't it? What is their key control system? Where are they going to store all of the keys, and who's allowed to get a key? I can't believe they actually ran this past an attorney before implementation. This seems to be one of those, yes, it's technically legal but it's stupid ideas. Other than parking off campus, your only option is to bring this up at the next school board meeting. Take the time now to organize the students and parents, because in most cases the parents own the cars and will be the ones spending the money for the keys and FOBs. Point out that on newer cars, it might cost $300 or more for a new key. How many families have that kind of spare change sitting around? This is how you become politically active in your community, by finding an injustice or bad policy and organizing people to change it. Valuable lessons coming. Best of luck to you. So, the school is willing to take possession and control of the cars, not only potentially making them liable for the cars, but also the contents therein. The technical terms in common law would be bailment and constructive possession. I'm not in Georgia, and I know nothing of Georgia law, being an Illinois attorney that is, but I would suspect these common law terms possibly could apply. A Georgia attorney should chime in here. The former, bailment, would make the school responsible for the car and its contents on loss or theft, with some limitations, and the latter, constructive possession, is a bit more interesting. Constructive possession is legal fiction used to describe a situation where an individual has actual control over personal property, but not actual physical control. In other words, if the item is in your car, your room, or some area over which you have control, just not in your pocket, backpack, or in your hand. Under the laws of most states, a person with constructive possession is treated no differently than a person with actual possession. So if there are drugs in the car, Guess who may be charged, depending on the knowledge requirements? Ask a Georgia attorney. And our next post. One of my relatives is homeschooling her kids, but isn't actually teaching them anything. Her oldest is 2 years behind now, nearly 8 years old. Is there anything I can do in Texas to report her? I heard Texas has pretty lax homeschooling rules. By 2 years behind, I mean that she has admitted to not teaching the kid. She has stated herself that if she were to put the kid in school, they'd have to start 2 grades behind. There are other things in their life that support this, but I don't exactly want to give out too many details. My question is simply that if I suspect she is neglecting her child's education, what steps could I take? I don't care about your opinions on right and wrong. If I have legal steps to take, then I will. If not, then I won't. That simple. Having interacted with the kid and other kids that age, the kid is behind in so many ways. And no, their mum isn't teaching some odd curriculum. She's just straight up isn't teaching her kids. She's like a very hands-off daycare for her own kids. No, she isn't doing whatever that unschooling stuff is. She just isn't teaching. She says she doesn't have the time. She's a stay-at-home mum. And our boy, Regularity in the comments says, educational neglect is the term you're looking for. As its name suggests, it's a category of child neglect that concerns the lack of providing education for a child. Normally, this sort of thing is covered by child protective services in most developed countries. So I would start by making a call to your local CPS branch. It's not like you have anything to lose other than a few minutes of your time, even if it isn't an offense in Texas specifically. And our next post is by user Vision Optic, titled, "Hello, me and my wife just had a pretty horrid run-in with the police. Need some advice. So me and my wife are having sexual intercourse when the cops knocked. This is the first time it's ever happened, so I assume nothing will go wrong. They knocked at the door. I answered the door, and immediately 2 cops entered my house without permission and started questioning me with abuse questions. They separated me and my wife for questioning, which I understand completely, but in doing so they made her reaction to this much worse. She has anxiety like crazy, and it is triggered by mostly any stressful, unfamiliar event that happens. They checked her arms for bruises and asked her about her panic attacks, and started asking weird questions. Basically, they're trying to pin me as an abusive jerk. As they questioned my wife and me separately, they began to tell me that my story was different from my wife's story, even though after the fact my wife told me that all she said was, "We had consensual sex and I like it rough," so that's probably why other people heard. Anyway, the cops nearly scarred me mentally by trying to perp me as an abuser for 2 hours straight when I'm 100% innocent with my wife as proof. My wife thought that our kids were going to be without a father because these morons wouldn't listen to our stories. He wanted to arrest me. He wanted there to be a problem when there wasn't one. What should I do? In the future, don't answer any questions without a lawyer. I don't see any basis for a lawsuit here, but you are free to speak to a lawyer. They probably got a call about domestic abuse, which gives them the authority to enter your home for a safety check. Unfortunately, the only sure way to avoid this in the future is to not make enough noise for your neighbors to hear. You could also try to explain to your neighbors that the noise is consensual sex. Finally, another user's idea of a consent decree is not bad, but won't do much more than your wife's testimony will. And our next post is by user Breaking HIPAA, titled, "There's a dentist that is breaking HIPAA on Google/Yelp reviews, defending themselves, slandering patients, and giving out all patients' health information. Who can I report this to?" In Massachusetts. I'm a nurse for the record. My friend came to me and was concerned about a response her dentist wrote back to her on Yelp that was public. She was basically saying that she wasn't happy with her dentist, and that he didn't have a good bedside mannerisms, and that she felt he misdiagnosed her, almost costing her thousands out of pocket. She got a second and third opinion, who agreed she didn't need the treatment he suggested. He was furious and blew up at her on the response and gave her whole diagnosis, workup, what he found in her mouth, the state it was in, etc. It really made her feel terrible about herself. She asked me if it was an HIPAA violation, and I said it had to be, right? He's sharing his patient's information all over the internet and calling her names. Who can we report this to? It's been up for a month, and he's doing it to over a dozen other patients, it looks like, and Yelp and Google has refused to take them down. And our next story was posted by a user, Shoot in the Dark, titled, I, 23 female, genuinely think that there's someone living in my attic. I'm not sure that this is the right place to post, but it made the most sense to me. I have reasonable suspicion that someone is squatting in my attic or accessing it on a regular basis. To note, the house hadn't been lived in for about 4 months prior and is in an okay area of Cleveland, Ohio. I've been moved in for about a month and a half. I've heard what sounded like footsteps at first more than a handful of times, but then I've just chucked it up to being new house sounds. I'll be honest and say I've been too scared to see if there's anything up there since I've moved in, so I've never even seen the attic. Today my sister and her boyfriend were staying over for the holidays, so I asked him to check it out. He popped up with a flashlight and there's a tent set up. He came down and told me. My sister and I came outside and he locked the back door and came out the front. The back door is directly in front of where the attic opens. We called the cops and waited about 10 minutes. Once the cops arrived, the back door was unlocked and no one was in the tent. Cops didn't do anything and didn't even go up to check. They were neato. So I put my head up to check while they were there. It's a tent, there's playing cards, they took my name and left. So I nailed the attic shut and blocked all entries to my home. I was thinking first thing I should do is get new locks and window monitors in the morning. Other than that, do I hire someone to check the house? Do I call the cops again another day? Should I not stay here alone? Update. My sister's boyfriend came over today and the two of them went up there and scooped it out. It looks like a weird grow-up. Can't tell if anyone was there. To me, it doesn't look like it, but it's strange regardless. And there's a link to a video which shows that it looks like, yeah, they were planting weed in there. Thank you to everyone who's been so kind. You've made me feel safe, even if it's been nothing. It's hard to tell. I can try to get back on my messengers, but we're changing the locks today, and I'll be looking into all the options for surveillance cameras. And our next post is by a user, Throw It Away, titled, Mother was living in a condo I purchased. Upon her death, her new husband and his family expect me to transfer ownership to him because he owns it. While I am not wealthy by any means, I have been investing my extra income for many years now. As my mother was on the verge of becoming homeless some years ago, I decided to use income generated from other properties to finance a condo for her in a retirement community. She was single at the time, and the verbal agreement was that she could stay there as long as she needed, but she had to pay for the utilities and condo fees. A few years ago, she married a man who promptly moved in with her. I've had a strained relationship with my mother for many years, and while this man seemed nice enough, we never became close. Before they got married, they sent a note to me and my siblings, stating that the marriage wouldn't change how their assets were split up upon their deaths. E.g., his kids would get his stuff and her kids would get her stuff. My siblings and I didn't care either way, and just wanted her to be happy, even though she was basically estranged from all of us at that point. Early this fall, my mother passed away. My siblings and I all did what was expected during this difficult time, but it was made clear to us that the new husband was running the show. After that took place, I decided that I would wait a month or so before telling the new husband that he needed to find a new place to live, as I was going to be selling the condo. Before any of this could happen though, I got a very angry call from the husband about why I was listed as the owner of my mother's residence. I tried explaining what the reality of the matter was, but he was having none of it. Things have now escalated to the point that his kids are calling and sending me quasi-threatening emails. In the last communication, they stated that my ownership of the condo is fraudulent because my mother had been making the payments on it for all these years, and I tricked her into signing it over to me when it was first purchased. Do I have anything to worry about? I'm not very confrontational, but I will stand up for myself and what's right when push comes to shove. I won't be able to sell the place until it's empty, which means evicting this guy, but that will likely get him even more riled up, which I would like to avoid if at all possible. Thanks in advance. Paying condo fees and utilities does not give someone implied ownership. As long as OP was on the tax roll in the title, it would require some serious pieces of evidence to motivate any court to agree to handing the condo over. It's quite likely that once husband speaks with an attorney, he will be dissuaded from attempting to gain control of the dwelling. Even if one of the kids is a lawyer, it will still be a lot of wasted money on his part. And most lawyers don't want to spend a client's money on a case they are certain to lose. Taxes, property and water, are paid by the condo corporation via condo fees. They only have my name as the registered owner. Update. Mother was living in a condo I purchased. Upon her death, her new husband and his family expected me to transfer ownership to him because he owns it. Some people have asked for an update, so I thought I would provide one. I ended up retaining the services of an attorney, and then this seems to have been the linchpin needed to get the wheels turning in my favor. Sometime in mid-January, my lawyer was notified that the condo would be vacated before the end of the month, and they even turned over the keys through the building superintendent. The condo was messy/dirty, but nothing was damaged. A good cleaning and some fresh paint made everything look good as new. The condo fees were last paid for December, so I had to get that taken care of once I got the locks changed. In the end, I will be out a few months' condo fees and the cost of the attorney. There are some issues with the utilities, which are 1, still in my mother's name, and 2, in arrears by a few months. But I'm told this will all be resolved quickly, and I won't have to pay for the outstanding portions. With any luck, the unit will be sold by the end of the month. Thank you, hot real estate market. Lessons learned from this ordeal. 1. Get everything in writing even when it's with family. And 2. When push comes to shove, walk away and hire a lawyer. Our next post is by a user for the present, titled, I own a long-standing, extremely professional massage therapy center in New York. And this morning, a pretty big radio station said we were an illegitimate spa who gives happy endings. Besides asking for a retraction, is there anything else that can be done? So this happened a few days ago. Feels like a retraction means nothing nowadays, and I've already received calls from people confused and upset. Even a few asking if we're going out of business. We are on the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to being compared to spas like this. We literally help countless people, many with cancer, through medical massage and other services, and of course everyone is licensed and insured. I've already spoken to the station and they were very apologetic and said they'd do a retraction, but I'm still quite angry. Prid3 says, congratulations, you have a legitimate slander case against this radio station. I agree with the other poster recommending a PR firm, but you should consult with an attorney about having the costs covered as part of your settlement with them. A mere retraction is, as you stated, wholly inadequate if they were making baseless accusations that have since caused you financial damages. Track everything, especially appointments cancelled because of the story and whatever losses you've incurred as a result. Adding hard numbers to losses and ongoing expenses goes a long way when discussing settlements. And our last post by Tex Surfin, titled, just had a natural gas company clear 2 acres of our land to build a well on my property. 1 day's notice before the bulldozers started clearing everything. Not a cent negotiated to compensate the lots we already agreed to sell to home builders, north of Houston, Texas. Apparently, they're going after gas half a mile east of our property, but there was no road to the location, so they are directional drilling from our property. We've paid an engineering firm to plat out our land to home builders. Those plans were expensive and are worthless now. No one will buy a house with a gas well out their back door. Lost every buyer we had lined up. We haven't even paid a cent, nor have they called us back to negotiate the costs of damages, trees taken, lot buyers that have now backed out, and acreage they've taken. I feel like it's hopeless going against big oil, but I didn't know this was something that was possible in the great state of Texas. Thank you for any responses. This is above Reddit's pay grade, but you're going to need a lawyer, a land surveyor, and an arborist to get this started. The trees have already been cleared. They did it in 24 hours. All we have are pictures from each lot corner. Dozens of massive oaks and pines, 4 bulldozers and about 10 guys with chainsaws, like some messed up blitzkrieg. Anyway guys, that is the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed this r/legal advice little journey we've been on. If you enjoyed it, tell me what you thought about it and your opinions on all these stories down in the comments below. I'd love to know. And as always, I hope you guys had a good day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!